last dozen or so years, a lot of international news headlines have focused on Iran and its desire to gain nuclear weapons. But America and its allies do not want Iran to have nuclear weapons. That's because Iranian leaders continue to call America the Great Satan. And Iranian leaders also keep telling how much they want to annihilate, destroy, obliterate the state of Israel. And certainly nuclear weapons would help them do that. So no, we don't want Iran to have nuclear weapons. That would be too much power in the wrong hands. But today's gospel lesson shows us the opposite. Since Jesus is true God, he has almighty power, greater power than any nuclear weapon. But Jesus has more than just power. He uses his power to heal and help and save and comfort. Today, God's word shows us that when it comes to Jesus, there is real power in the right hands. And our text shows us the real almighty power of Christ. They brought a man to Jesus who was deaf and had a speech impediment. They pleaded with Jesus to place his hand on him. Jesus took the man aside in private, away from the crowd. He put his fingers into the man's ears and then spit and touched the man's tongue. After he looked up to heaven, he sighed and said, Ephatha, which is Hebrew or Aramaic for be opened. Immediately the man's ears were opened, his tongue was set free, and he began to speak plainly. Now Jesus, of course, is so powerful, he could have just said, be healed, and the man would have been healed. But besides having great power, Jesus also has great compassion. And so he takes the man away from the crowd. He gets up close and personal with the man, one-on-one, just the two of them. And then Jesus touches the man's ear and tongue, the very parts of his body that were disabled. And from this we see that Jesus does not shy away from getting up close to people who are diseased or disabled or undesirable. And that's good news for you and for me because, well, Jesus doesn't look at us and say, I don't want to have anything to do with you. You have bad breath and body odor. You have acne and a big nose. You have too many tattoos. You've got a pot belly and you're balding. You have poor posture and crooked teeth. And you have too many wrinkles. So I don't want to have anything to do with your weak, old, ugly body. Now that's ridiculous. Jesus never, ever says anything like that. Instead, Christ's love for us is always there. Christ's love for us does not depend on how good looking you are or how fashionably you dress or how physically fit you are. No, actually, Christ's compassion and love for us doesn't depend on us at all. It depends on him. It depends on his great love and his great compassion. And what is more, Jesus has extra compassion for those who are suffering, who are lonely, who are oppressed, who are rejected, diseased, despised, and disabled. And that's why Jesus uses his almighty power to help and heal the deaf, the blind, the lame, and the disabled. Jesus uses his power to help the helpless. And so often, well, you could argue all the time, that includes you and me. And Jesus uses his power to help you and me to this day. Of course, Jesus does not get up close and personal with us. He does not touch us in our tongues, our ears, or wherever we're ailing. He does not touch us with his physical hands like he did with that man in the text. No, today Jesus uses his almighty power much more in an indirect way. So, for example, Jesus uses his almighty power to influence the affairs of this world so that we can live peaceful, prosperous lives. Jesus uses his power so that it rests on, so that it blesses the medical treatments, the operations, the procedures, the medicines that either restore us to health or keep us healthy. Jesus uses his power to guide and protect people like police officers, firefighters, EMTs, and all those other people whose job is to serve and protect us. So again, Jesus works behind the scenes. He works through other people. And so Jesus works through parents and teachers and pastors. Jesus works through doctors and nurses and, yes, even politicians and all other kinds of workers. Jesus works to your benefit, for your benefit, through a family and friends and neighbors and relatives and coworkers and, yes, even strangers. But make no mistake about this. Whenever you receive help, whenever you are safe, whenever you find comfort, and whenever you enjoy good health, it is because Jesus is using his almighty power to help you, to heal you, and to look after you. Now, of course, the best benefit that Jesus gives us is greater than physical health and safety. The biggest blessings that Jesus gives us are the forgiveness of sins, the resurrection of the dead, and everlasting glory with him in heaven. And that's the main reason why Jesus came down to this earth. He came to save us, not from our everyday problems. He helps us with those. But primarily, above all else, Jesus came to save us from the curse of death and sin. Jesus came down to this earth to be so that we could join him and be with him forever in eternal glory. For you, for me, and for everyone who believes in him. And that's why we can be so thankful that real power rests in the right hands. Yes, Jesus uses his power not just to heal our bodies, but also to heal our souls. As the true Son of God, the Almighty Son of God, Jesus keeps us healthy, safe, and prosperous, not just for this life, but much more importantly, for eternal life. And so we have to understand this. The miracles of healing, as great as they were secondary. The gift of eternal life is primary. Now, unfortunately, a lot of people today get that confused, just like when Jesus was on earth. So many people got those two things mixed up. As a matter of fact, in our text we see some people who forgot about the greater gift of eternal life. They were so amazed and bewildered and overcome by the miracles that the miracles were all they could think about and all they could talk about. And so our text says, Jesus commanded them not to tell anyone about the healing. But the more he did so, the more they kept talking about it. People were overwhelmed with amazement. He has done everything well, they said. He even makes the deaf hear and the mute speak. So Jesus told the people to be quiet about the healing because he did not want the amazing miracles to overshadow the even more amazing gift of eternal life. You see, the miracles were signs and indicators that, yes, Jesus did have great power and great compassion. But again, the miracles were secondary. They were secondary because when Jesus healed a disease, he was only temporarily healing the outward symptom of the deeper disease of sin. And sin, that was the main reason Jesus came down to this earth. He came to get rid of sin and all its evil consequences. And the way that Jesus treats both the symptom of sin and the disease of sin, the way he does that is a bit like this. Let's say you have an infected tooth, and the pain is horrible. So you go to the dentist, but unfortunately the dentist can't see you for a couple of days. But in the meantime, the dentist gives you powerful prescription painkillers like Percocet or Vicodin. And you're very thankful for those painkillers because they do help numb the pain. And then a couple days later, you go see the dentist, and then he does his real work. He fixes that tooth with a root canal, or he just yanks that tooth out of your mouth altogether. Now, in a way, the miracles are like those painkillers. When Christ healed the sick, he temporarily took care of the outward symptoms of sin. But Jesus, again, did so much more than just miracles. He laid down his life on the cross. He came back to life at his resurrection. And by his death and his resurrection, Jesus was treating the cause of all pain and all suffering. By his death and resurrection, Jesus destroyed sin and death. Now, if you had that infected tooth with so much great pain, you would be thankful for the painkillers. But it would be foolish for you to say, hey, these painkillers are working pretty good. I can hardly feel my sore tooth. And I can live with this low level of pain, so I'm not even going to go back to the dentist. Why bother? I'll just keep taking the painkillers, and that'll be good for me. Well, I think we all know enough about prescription painkillers to realize how foolish that would be. But it would be even more foolish to see Jesus as nothing but a painkiller or an earthly problem solver. Yes, of course, Jesus does help and heal, and Jesus does have compassion for your day-to-day life. However, Jesus does not display his greatest power in healing diseases or in solving day-to-day problems. No, Jesus displays his greatest power in laying down his life on the cross. Jesus displays his greatest power in pouring out his holy, precious blood as the only payment, the only sacrifice powerful enough to erase our debt of sin for time and for eternity. Jesus displays his greatest power in putting death to death by his glorious resurrection from his own grave, and then sharing that victory over death with you and me and everyone who believes in him. So be grateful for the power of Jesus. Thank Jesus. His almighty power helps you in this life. His power, though, his almighty power, more importantly, saves you for eternal life. So again, thank and praise Jesus. The power of life and salvation are truly in the right hands. Almighty power is in the hands of Jesus Christ, your compassionate Savior. All glory be to Jesus. Amen.